When I read the script, I was breathless through the entire thing. I felt great anxiety and confusion and excitement and shock and horror, and I basically read the entire script like this. Like, what is gonna happen? What are they gonna choose? What is happening right now? And it just kind of scared me in a deep, kind of profound way.
The film, to me, even though it has these huge themes and it's very hard to answer what it's about, and it may sound really cheesy saying it, for me, it's a love story. It's a love story between a family.
The cabin is a perfect setting for something like this because it's a place where it's just so isolated, anything really could happen. And you're so far away from kind of any help. So it just makes it even more kind of disturbing.
It is terrifying. I think even by Night's standards, everyone's a little bit shaken by this story. There are things that happen in this movie that I would guess that people have never seen happen before.
I'm very drawn to stories of...
Okay, for some reason, this interview with M. Night Shyamalan, provided by Universal to the press, mind you, keeps getting flagged. It's very weird. I can't use the audio from this interview. Can you believe that? Why give me the footage if I can't use it in a video? Anyway, rather than throwing away hours of work, I'm just gonna relay what he's telling you here. So here he's talking about how he loves telling large stories through a small window, and how that confinement really invokes his imagination. He feels that a movie-going experience needs to be an event. So here he's telling us about how the audience needs to use their imagination for certain elements of the story. About how your mind is basically filling in the blanks of a story that doesn't give you all the details. And that type of storytelling is inviting the audience to participate in a sort of dance. Just the way Twilight Zone has been doing for years. So, in a roundabout way, he's basically saying this.
What is gonna happen? What are they gonna choose? What is happening right now?
Man, this character is really, I mean, he's weighted. And there's like all the chunky dialogue, and I was like, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. Like, this is what I've been waiting for, because roles like this don't get offered to guys like me. You know, I'm typically, everybody wants me for action stuff, and they kind of, you know, I've kind of been fighting to get out of that box, but people naturally, and I understand why, want to put me in that box. Because I fit the bill, and I'm good at action. I play that guy, I can be that guy. But I want the deeper roles because I want to prove myself as an actor. So those roles are just super few and far between, especially leads. It just don't happen. So this is kind of the opportunity that I've been wanting for years and years and years.
Here's M. Night telling us about after 3 days of shooting the film, Dave Bautista came up to him and said, "I've said more dialogue in these 3 days than I've said in my entire career in front of the camera." Night says he was never worried about it because Dave was the right man for the part. And he tells us that Dave Bautista takes acting very, very seriously.
This is one of those stories where immediately you start to think, if this was happening to me, what would I do? And that goes on many different levels. You've got your basic invasion story at the beginning where we've all had that nightmare. God, what if someone broke into the house or got into the building? So you go from like a survival story, which immediately grips the audience, to a kind of a moral, ethical, spiritual dynamic that the audience then has to ask themselves, well, what do I think about that? Can I even believe in that?
It's based on a book by Paul Tremblay, which we were actually familiar with, and we really loved the setup of the book. And the idea, the high concept was so compelling tonight that he just, one day, we were in a meeting, he's like, well, what if I rewrite this and direct it? And we were all like, amazing. So he decided to do a pass. Again, we loved the book, but we made some changes, and that started the process. So as he wrote it, he fell in love with it, and we decided, let's go make it. This would be the next Night movie.
In this part of the interview, M. Night Shyamalan is telling us what he told all of the actors in this movie. He said, "Every one of you has the right to feel bad for yourself, given what's happening in this story, but you're not allowed. So find another way. You can get angry, you can use humor, just find a weapon to stay alive, because we love to see characters fight for their survival emotionally."
Night has his own process and also his own kind of philosophy about filmmaking and about acting as well. So I think like I've really enjoyed slotting into what his version of making a film is, and it's very individual to him. So it's it's been a pleasure to kind of like learn from him and be on this. It is a wild film. It's a wild ride of a story. But yeah, it's really, really exciting to be part of it.
He's a very demanding director, but you know, it's weird because it's not overbearing. Like, he's such a pleasant, friendly, lovable person, and he's so supportive. I think that also he takes pride in wanting to bring the best out of you. But also, I think that, you know, this is his vision, and you have to deliver his, you know, what he wants, what he sees. So I respect him enough to completely trust in him.
I love working with him. He's just so warm, and what we're seeing from him now is just some really bold storytelling. He kind of expects kind of absolute kind of perfection, and it's brilliant because it really kind of forces you can never really sit back and relax. Even if you're in a scene and you're just sat in a chair in the background, he can see you, and you know, you have to be in it. And it's, I find it quite a thrilling way to work.
The cameras are so all over the place and in really not random, but like angles and shots that I have never experienced before. And in a way, it's almost more freeing because I'm like kind of unaware of where the camera is at times, because it'll be in the corner of a room or above our heads or like right in our face, but it kind of adds to the surreal element of the whole movie and does somehow, even if the camera is right in my face, just makes it feel freer and adds to it.
All of Night's films kind of, I think, encourage their audience to challenge their reality and what they believe in. I think this film's probably doing that more directly than any film that he's made. I think it's throwing up all these really direct, confronting questions that are like life's riddles, and they're like encapsulated in this unconventional, like domestic family setting. I think it's like, I think it's a really good movie to watch for where we're at in the world.
You have these two opposing perspectives in a very heightened environment with this kind of scary kind of cult-like energy coming at them, and people saying absolutely extraordinary things to them. And part of what we're tracking at this point in the journey, as we're in the first third of the movie, is understanding between Ben and I two opposing reactions to something quite extreme.
Here's M. Night telling us he sometimes forgets this story is about a gay couple, and how he just sees it as a love story, and how he, as a straight man, saw himself in the story because of how good the actors were and the way these protagonists expressed their love for each other. And maybe it's because it gets marginalized, he responds to that in a very powerful way, and that it's very hard in this world to truly be who we are. He also tells us that usually this would be portrayed by a husband and wife couple, but seeing the actors perform, he was feeling things he never felt before. He was seeing love through a different lens, and he didn't expect that.
It was different when we were growing up 20 years ago. Acceptance of sexual identity was just in a totally different place. And we've come so far since then. And we are pinching ourselves that we get to be in this, you know, Hollywood horror movie as gay actors playing gay characters in an M. Night Shyamalan movie. I mean, this would not have been the case 15 years ago. And that specialness and that progress that we're benefiting from is not lost on us. And it's such a cool opportunity to just be ourselves in a movie.
Lynn? Your dads won't want to let us in. You have to tell them that they must. We need their help. Otherwise, we're going to have to find our own way in. You understand?